So I want to start this video by saying I know I'm kind of late to the party on this topic, but I didn't really have a reason to make videos back when this was a topic, so I figured I'd make it now. But way back when, NetherRealm was rumored to be starting a Marvel fighting game instead of Injustice 3. So today I wanted to go over my picks for what I think would be a really cool characters to see in the Marvel fighting game by NetherRealm. Start off with Spider-Man, because he's my favorite Marvel character. And, I mean, it's Spider-Man. You can't really have a Marvel game without Spider-Man. He'd also be really fun to, evade people with, swinging and be able to, stun them by webbing them up with his web shooters and things like that. Not to mention his, super strength and spider sense would also be really fun. If you could implement, an Arkham system where you could, dodge certain attacks because of his spider sense, that'd be really cool. The next character, I'm going to go with Captain America, because he's very popular and would be very fun, just throwing your shield around and all that kind of stuff. They could probably give him a pistol like he had back in World War II. You could get some ranged attacks with the shield and a gun, which would be really fun. Not to mention, again, his super strength. Then you got Black Widow, who I feel like would be a fairly obvious character of what to do with. I mean, she's a basic martial artist with guns. I feel like she could be a Harley Quinn type from Injustice. Just, martial arts and gun attacks. And then you have Thor, who would be really fun as a brawler and a zoner, because he'd be able to shoot you full of lightning while also hitting you in the head with Mjolnir. And it would be really fun. You could also, with gear, you could implement both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, which would be really cool. You could switch them out, which I think would be really fun. Then you got Hulk, which is obviously just, one of those big brawler type characters, like Doomsday or Bane, just up close brawler, because it's Hulk. Maybe he could have some moves in the Avengers game where his ranged attack is throwing a giant rock. I mean, I hated that game, but that was a really cool move. He would just throw rocks at you because they wanted everyone to have a ranged attack. And then you have Hawkeye, which, again, I feel would be a very basic person to be able to explain. If you've ever played Injustice, just, Green Arrow. He would play like that. He would be able to have his, little character trait of, shooting arrows. Most of his abilities would incorporate his bow and arrow. And maybe they could do something like they did with Green Arrow, where they, taped a knife to the front of it, so when he hit you, it did more damage or something like that. That'd be cool. Then you got Iron Man. Again, he can fly, shoot repulsor blasts. Seeing an ultimate move where he releases energy straight from the arc reactor from his chest, that would be really cool. You could also incorporate the Hulk Buster and all his different forms of armor into his moveset, which again would be really cool to see. And that basically covers, Spider-Man and the main 6 Avengers from the MCU. The next few are going to be Loki, because, it's Loki. He's one of the most popular characters out there. But not only that, he could have some really cool move sets with, having duplicates, being able to shape shift, using the Space Stone. He could teleport around. He also had the Mind Stone in Thor and Avengers, so he could use that. I mean, he didn't really use it that much then. He used it to control people, but outside of that, he didn't really use it that much. But he could, use its full power and be able to be a lot cooler. Then you have Thanos. I feel he would be more like a Hulk character, and the Infinity Gauntlet might just be a gear piece, because it would be kind of hard to balance Thanos with the whole gauntlet. I mean, how do you okay, think about it like this. Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet versus my next character, Daredevil. I love Daredevil. He's my second or third favorite Marvel character, but he would not be able to do that. But yeah, my next character is going to be Daredevil, Matt Murdock. They just put him in the MCU. Thank God they did Charlie Cox, because he was Daredevil on Netflix, and that was one of the best shows. I love that show. It's great to see him in the MCU, but he would be kind of like a Black Widow type, but more using his sticks instead of guns. Nightwing from Injustice 1, but not the full staff, the broken apart staffs. You could have moves like that, which would be really cool to see. Then I got Kingpin. It would be another huge brawler, but it would be so fun to see Kingpin just like throwing people around. This big brawler Kingpin coming up to you would be really, really fun. Then I got Red Skull from Captain America. I think I just want Red Skull because I like Red Skull. But I think it would also be really cool to give him the Space Stone and have him be able to, like, go around the whole thing and have his guns so he could, like, teleport behind you and shoot you like a Korigiri in one of my last videos, if you saw that. He can, like, teleport behind you and be able to surprise attack you from behind. I think that'd be really fun. The next ones, kinda since Disney bought Fox, I wanted to put some X-Men. Because Spider-Man may be my favorite character in Marvel, but X-Men is my favorite group in Marvel. Like, I love Spider-Man, and I love when Spider-Man's on the Avengers, and I love all that, but as a group, I love the X-Men a lot more. So the next one, I have Wolverine. Also, not to mention the fact that Insomniac said they were coming out with a Wolverine game. So Wolverine would obviously be a brawler with his claws, but it would also be really cool if they were able to implement a healing factor for Wolverine. I don't know how they would do that, because that would be extremely overpowered. Actually, they could do something like they did with Jason Voorhees in Mortal Kombat X, where he gets killed and then regenerates, like, I think a third or fourth of his health back, and then just gets back up and keeps fighting. That would be really fun. My next character is also from X-Men, Magneto. Favorite villain in Marvel. I love Magneto. If you've seen X-Men First Class, that is a perfect Magneto movie. I love that. It's basically all about Magneto. I mean, it's obviously an X-Men movie, but its majority is about Magneto, and I love that movie. It's my favorite X-Men movie. And then I got Doc Ock, especially after the recent Spider-Man movie. He would be really cool to see. And can you just imagine if they got Alfred Molina to actually voice him? That would be so cool to have Alfred Molina voice him in that game. That would be awesome. And yeah, obviously, he's got the arms, which would be a really cool, unique kind of fighting style. Because, granted, Devora has arms in Mortal Kombat, but she doesn't use them all that much. But I feel Doc Ock would use those exclusively, and that would be really fun to see. Then, again, inspired by the new Spider-Man movie, I got Green Goblin. And again, imagine him being voiced by Willem Dafoe. That would be so, so cool. You also have his pumpkin bombs and his glider that could be put into his moveset, which would be really fun. Just hobbing pumpkin bombs all over the screen would be really fun. Next, I got 3 in a row, actually, big brawler characters. Juggernaut, because Juggernaut would be really cool to see, just charging through. His ultimate move would be so fun. And if they did stage transitions, it would be so fun to have him, like, get little unique ones where he just charges you through a wall. Just charges you through several walls. That would be so cool. The next one is Venom. And I'm talking, like, big buff Venom. Like, not Topher Grace Venom. No Spider-Man 3 Topher Grace Venoms here. I'm talking big buff Eddie Brock Venom. Because I just think that'd be really cool to see. You could put, like, some of Spider-Man's moves in there, but also just make them more brutal. Like, take Spider-Man's moveset and make every move hit harder. Like, stuff like that. I think that'd be really fun. And then I got another X-Men character, Colossus. Colossus is one of my favorite X-Men. He is in the Deadpool movies, so he's actually gotten pretty popular recently. And it would be really fun to see him as, like, a counter to, like, the villain brawlers, because most of them that I have on here, Venom, Juggernaut, and Kingpin, and then you got Hulk and Colossus as, like, the good big brawlers, which I think would be really fun. And then I have Ultron. Now, Ultron, I feel like they did really dirty in the MCU, because that movie kind of sucked a lot, but, I mean, it's an Avengers movie, so it doesn't really suck, but comparatively, it's like, okay. But Ultron, if you've seen the next Avengers animated movie, Ultron is really, really cool. He killed all of the Avengers, and then, like, their kids had to succeed succeed them in a story. And I think that's really cool. And I'd like to see like a super powerful Ultron. Or in the What If series, he like was about to take over the multiverse, which is just a fun concept. And then, because of the cameo of Matt Murdock in Spider-Man, I wanted to put some more of the Netflix characters in, instead of just Daredevil and Kingpin, who are both from Netflix in the MCU now. And I chose Punisher, because out of everyone else, there is really only one character that I care about keeping the actor, and that's Jon Bernthal as Punisher. I freaking love Jon Bernthal as Punisher. He is one of my favorite superhero actors, and I don't even like Punisher that much, but Jon Bernthal made me like Punisher. I love that show, and again, he could be just a zoner with all his types of artillery. Would just be so, he could just have ridiculous guns in his movesets, which I think would just be fun, just pulling them straight out of his ass. It would be so fun. The next one I have is also one that you could implement the teleport behind, which I think would work a lot better for him than Red Skull or Loki. Nightcrawler. Now in Ultimate Alliance, in some of the comics, he uses swords, and I think this would be crucial for his character in a fighting game, because no one else in my list really has swords, and I feel like sword is kind of a staple of fighting games. Like, sword characters are always there, and they're always really fun to play, and I feel like a teleporting dual sword character would be really fun. Not to mention he could throw his tail in his moveset as well. The next, I have another X-Men, but she's in the MCU, and with this Doctor Strange movie, she's probably going to get a lot of popularity. Wanda, or Scarlet Witch. She is probably the most powerful mutant, and it would be really fun to see her like red energy kind of stuff in there. Not to mention her reality warping abilities would also be really cool to see. The next, because I have a soft spot for speedsters, I did Quicksilver, and don't put in an MCU skin because that Quicksilver is really, really bad. Super dumb. Don't like it. Very bad. But he could have a moveset like Flash, just zooming around the screen all the time. Like every move, he's like just going around the screen. The next one, I have another X-Men, leader of the X-Men, Cyclops, who I think would be really fun to see. Cyclops is one of my favorite characters, and seeing his laser attacks would be really fun. The next one I have is, as I mentioned earlier, Doctor Strange, because you can't have a Marvel game anymore without Doctor Strange. Not to mention with his new movie, directed by Sam Raimi, I feel like that's going to be really, really fun, and I'm excited to see that. And he could have all sorts of magic, especially if you give him the Time Stone. He'd be able to do some really cool moves. If he could do something like Tracer in Overwatch, where you just get comboed into oblivion and then you go back like 3 seconds, that would be really, really cool. Super overpowered, I know, and not even close to being in the game, but that would be really fun. Next, I got Gamora and Star-Lord from Guardians. With Gamora, you got like the sword gameplay. So yeah, I guess I do have another sword. But you have a sword gameplay with Gamora mixed with her martial arts, and then you got Star-Lord with his guns. And the last person I have for this list would be Captain Marvel. Now, I don't really like Captain Marvel all that much, but I think she'd be really fun in a game. I mean, she's super fun in Ultimate Alliance. Granted, I don't like the character that much. Then again, all I know about her is the movie, and that movie sucked, so it's not really a full judgment. I don't know much about the character. But flying around like Starfire and Injustice, that would be really cool, with huge energy blasts that just demolish the stage. Would be really, really fun. But yeah, that about does it for this video. My NetherRealm Marvel fighting game prediction list, which I would still much, much, much rather have an Injustice 3 or another video that's going to come out soon, a DC vs. Marvel, but this would also be cool. I'll be a little upset, but I won't be super upset if there's a Marvel fighting game, because I also like Marvel. Not as much as DC, but I still like Marvel, so I think this game would be really cool. But yeah, that about does it. If you want to hear me talk some more, I got a podcast on Spotify called The Basscast, link in the description. And I'll see you in the next one.